I've tuned my guitar with the 6th string tuned to a G. And the reason I did that is so that I can hear what kind of harmonies chords make over the G. For me, this kind of thinking is inspired by the piano. Even though I can't play the piano, I have one. I think just having it sitting here gives me ideas. You know, I just imagine playing a chord with my left hand and then playing other chords over with my right hand and considering what the total resulting harmony would be. Thinking, for example, what if I played a G chord with my left hand and then I ran other chords over it, like, you know, G, A minor, B minor, C. What would the total chord be, you know, if I add both of those chords together? Well, I tuned this guitar so that the bottom string is a G, so that I could sort of try to experience a little bit of that. Let's see what happens. Here's a G arpeggio. Alright, it's 1, 3, and 5 of the G major scale. I'm just playing it with these thumb and 2 fingers right now. Okay. Thumb, first finger, middle finger. Then if I wanted to play the G, I would use this finger. I like to use one finger on each string when I can. It just seems natural. Okay, so here's the little 3-string G arpeggio. I'm trying not to shine too much light on this neck, but I still... Here's the G bass note under it. Right, so obviously that's just a G chord. But what happens if I keep the G in the bass? Now I play the next chord in the key of G, which would be an A minor. Okay, let me show you how I did that. These are the tones right here. Because I know my hand covers up. I'll put my finger down so you can see. Okay, but when you're doing it, your finger's up. It's just that this middle finger's not doing anything. Okay, so let's hear the G under that. The G's under it, or on the bottom, we could say. Oh, that's a different sound, isn't it? It's pretty, right? How about the next chord, which will be the B minor? It's the same shape. You don't have to change your shape at all. Just slide up a whole step. this is how. That's my natural hand position. The next key in the chord is, the next chord in the key is a C chord. Let's play what we have so far. Okay, so we're up through the 4 chord, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's do the 5 chord. It's going to be a D. Sixth chord, it's going to be an E minor. I can come up here. I can tell this guitar needs to be intonated. Or instead I could play it here. Notice the notes are the same notes. It's easier here because I'm not here. I feel like my hand is starting to get into a more difficult position, and I don't have, well, for me this is easier. It happens to sound better on my guitar too because of the intonation imperfection that I have at the moment. So what's after E minor? F sharp diminished. That's the 7 chord. And then we've got a G. It's a G chord. 1, 3, 5 is the sequence in that little G arpeggio. Really, when you play the notes one at a time like that, it's called an arpeggio. It's not called a chord. But when you play them together, it's called a chord, right? An arpeggio can just be considered a broken chord when it's played with the notes in sequence. So you can see how I worked that little arpeggio into actual playing, right? A lot of these things are, you can consider them building blocks. And I like that. It's like, you know, sounds like a song. See, now I haven't done that before this moment. You know, I haven't done that particular thing before this moment, but having some kind of a theoretical idea led me to do something that I think sounds nice. So this is what you've seen is one example of theory informing practice. I don't know if every single one of these chords in the key is going to work nicely over that G in the bass. I know those first three did, that's for sure. That of course works nice because actually C has a G in it. C, E, G are the notes in the C chord. So if I play a C with this G in the bass, I've got the fifth in the bass. And the D chord, a D chord consists of D, F sharp, and A. That sounds nice too. Hey Johnny, here's my son. What do you want, Johnny? I know what you want. I think Tom. What do you want me to do? Turn on Thomas the Train? Is that it? Let me finish this first.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Thomas?
Honey, would you take a minute and turn Thomas on your computer? Because I'm making a little videotape right now. D. Okay, and with the G and the bass. And now here's E minor. You can hear that it's a Let's check the tuner here. I've got a digital tuner I like to use. It's very important to play in tune. That's a little lesson in itself, to play in tune. Because, you know, if you're not playing in tune, you can't get a, it's like a foundation. See that, Johnny? Daddy's gonna try to tune the guitar, honey. Hey, sweetie pie. Shabby. Shabby. Would you show Johnny Thomas in the nursery? Because I'm making a little guitar lesson right now.
What's wrong?
Okay, would you bring him in there? Alright, here was the 7 chord. And here's the 1 chord again, an octave higher. 1 chord being the G. Now, of course, I can play the chords in the key of G any place I want to. For example, here was the D chord I just played. But what if I played the D chord down here? Instead of... Alright, this is just the D chord 1 octave lower. And it's that 1-3-5 voicing. It's also called a closed voicing in music theory, when you've got each degree of the scale in sequence that the chord is formed from. 1, 3, 5. There, I with the G under it. With this particular tuning, I can get a G chord just by playing open. See? That's a G chord right there. I played string 6. String 4. Oh. 4, 3, 2. Another little tip, for example, right there, for a moment, the B string, string 2, was a little too high. A lot of times in the, whether it's in the gearing of the tuner or a little sticking in the nut, if you pull the string a bit, you know, I'll pull it out with my thumb a little bit, you'll take some of the slack out from behind the neck, and then you're in effect lengthening this part of the string that's between the bridge. This is called the bridge, if anybody doesn't know, and the nut. You're lengthening that just a teeny tiny bit, you know, a micro amount, and sometimes when you're just a hair off in your tuning, that's all you need. You don't need to do something as large scale as actually turning the tuning peg. It's just kind of a little, that's one of those little fine points, small tip. The longer you play it, I think the more you'll appreciate playing in tune. I have another guitar that's just like this, that actually has a bridge on it that has little thumb screws that you can use as fine tuners. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to bring that downstairs and start using that too on some of these videos. Anyway, look at that. Here's a G chord. Those are both G chords, but the different voicings with different notes on top makes for a pretty difference. That's another G voicing right there. See? Isn't that nice? See? This is a D chord. Do it again this way, if my vision doesn't fail me. One, 3, 5, 1. Oops. 1, 3, 5, 1 of the D major scale to make that D chord, and that's the 5th chord in the key of G, the 5th chord in G. Now I'm going to play it with the G under it. You remember my G string is tuned to a G instead of the usual E. Now I can get a G chord open. See? and I added a little melody in there. See? The melody here is D, B, D, B. And the next time through I got a melody that went D, E, D, A, B, and I'm integrating it with the chord play. So that shows some usefulness to this idea. Notice how much different the effect was because I ended on a G note that time instead of the B note. Here's an E minor arpeggio. Oops. Then I threw in a scale tone also. Let's do it over the G. I need to put my glasses on. So here's an E minor, 1, flat 3, 5, down to the D, 1, 3, 5. And I threw a scale tone in from the G major scale. The E minor chord is the 6th chord of the G major scale. And you'll notice I'm saying some of the same things over and over again. It's just how it was when one of my best teachers taught me. You know, and after a couple of years of hearing the same logic over and over again and everything being consistent and hanging together, I started to get it. One of the people who helped me most was Dick Longale. I'm here in Rochester, New York, and Dick was a guitar teacher here in Rochester, New York. And some of you might have heard of him. I know he's got a big reputation here. I haven't traveled about much, so I don't know. I don't know if any of you out and about have also heard of him. He was great at chord melodies, among other things. Okay. There's that one chord. Those are all tones in the G major scale. Well, I started with the idea, that piano-inspired idea of wanting to get the idea of what superimposing one chord over another would be. Playing one note, or I mean one chord with the left hand on the piano, and then another with the right hand on the piano, so that the higher pitched chord would be superimposed over the lower pitched chord. I didn't actually do that here. I mean, what I did was inspired by that, but I didn't actually do that because all I had that was corresponding to my thought about using the left hand for the lower chord on the piano was one tone, the G. So how do I experience this superimposition of chords on the guitar? Well, a couple ideas occur to me. One idea is perhaps I can tune the lowest three strings on the guitar to a chord, and then move chords on the upper three strings over that low chord. Another idea I have, which I don't know how useful it would be for actually playing, but I could do it for just experimental purposes. I could use two guitars. I do happen to have two of the same model. I've got two of these. I've got two of these guitars. So if I wanted, I could sit one on a stand, probably on this side, and grab that chord with my right hand, and then do things over here with the guitar that's on my lap. Anyway, that's all I'm going to do for now, but those other ideas are probably the ideas that I'll explore within the next couple days. Thanks for sharing with me, and let me know what you come up with.